All right, we are back on Morning Line. It is our final segment this morning with Davidson County Sheriff Daron Hall. I got another phone call for you, Sheriff, and it's good to have you on. We're streaming live on Facebook as well if you have questions or comments. We got Tom that has a question for you, Sheriff. Tom, good morning. What's on your mind?
Hey, good morning, Nick. Well, ain't it sort of good to sit here and hear the news in the morning and you don't have to hear about people out there shooting each other? Thank you, and thank the Sheriff. I don't know him. I live in White County.
Okay.
And I watch him quite often on your show. He sounds like a very sensible person, and he's very understanding. Mm-hmm. And I believe he's doing the right thing in what he's doing. People shouldn't give him a hard way to go because he has no control over this coronavirus, no more than I do. Mm-hmm. And we're just going to have to deal with this. I know he has a rough job down there having inmates and stuff down there, dealing with them, being sick. He's trying to do the best he can, I believe. And thank you, sir, for doing your job. I wish you were sheriff up here in White County.
All right. Well, thank you. That's nice to hear.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tom makes me want to pack myself. I'm going to move to White County. He seemed like my kind of guy.
Hey, Sheriff, I wanted to ask you about a photo that we actually took. We can't show it on the air right now, but it's a photo, and it's interesting just the composition of it. Our photojournalist Tony Cook took it last week, and it was right behind the new jail facility in front of the sign Behavioral Care Center. And I'll probably use it later in the story tonight, but it shows a Metro police officer confronting a gentleman who is completely naked right behind the jail. Obviously, it appears maybe in distress. He shouldn't have been that way, certainly indecent exposure, but maybe dealing with some issues. And it's just the irony, and it seems like he was taken into custody safely and being dealt with, but it's right there. He's naked in the street as she's approaching him in front of the Behavior Care Center sign. And I know I sent you a copy of it to take a look.
Yeah, you know, Nick, and again, I don't think I could have staged a picture better than what we've been trying to say for the last, 4 years in the building of this facility, which will open here in just a few months. And it's not open now because of some other issues, as you're familiar with. But now that we are, about to open it, one of the things I've said many times, and it's kind of ironic, is that if you don't know you're supposed to wear clothes, why in the world do we think police officers, judges, sheriffs, DAs, why do we think the criminal justice system is going to scare you into it or convince you of what the law is? You didn't even know to wear clothes. And in this picture, it surely looks like this man was just walking somewhere and clearly has no clothes on. And we're using the criminal justice system to try to fix what is an illness. There's no way that individual is not ill. And so, look, I don't want him walking naked down the street either. I mean, I'm not excusing his behavior when I say that. What I'm saying is we built a facility. It's ironic. It's in the backdrop of this picture where he belongs. He doesn't belong in the backseat of the police car because that has never worked. It's not going to work. He'll be naked again and again if we keep trying to criminalize that. And so my hope is maybe one day you'll still see a naked man, but when you do, that individual is taken to a behavioral care center, treated for his illness, stabilized for what is wrong with him, and hopefully released into our community with a much better chance to be productive in our city. Right now, we arrest and rearrest and rearrest a person because we think criminalizing the illness is going to solve it. And so, great picture, other than the indecent part of the picture, but the reality of it is it tells a really big story. You're wasting a lot of taxpayer money making it a crime when really he needs to be in the building that's behind that scene, and one of these days he will be.
As we kind of wrap things up here, just was going through my mind a list of some very high-profile trials that were scheduled to happen. Now, I know Andrew Delkey, the Metro police officer charged in that homicide case, was not incarcerated with you. He's free on bond, but that was scheduled to come. Of course, we know Travis Ranking, the Waffle House accused shooter, also. I'm just wondering, from your perspective, as you house some of these inmates awaiting trial, I mean, all of these that had dates set, they're all going to be pushed back now, aren't they?
Yeah, we have a lot of court issues to resolve, and that, like you said, that alone, just a court date situation, a lot of folks that are issued citations, that's going to catch up and backlog things. Nick, I will tell you, and I don't have any answers for it, but I do believe, look what we're doing here today. I mean, we're sitting on a live screen type of video system. I believe it's going to change the way we operate some of this too. I mean, I know a trial can't be done with the defendant on something like this, but it's my argument all along. There's no reason why we move bodies around to do a lot of trivial type of court hearing and processes. You wouldn't believe how much money we spend and the risk we go through of moving people around to courts and so forth, when quite frankly they're not even needed for that particular day. And so maybe there's some silver lining down the road. I believe technology is going to change some of the ways that we do things, and some of these trials will obviously be a physical presence. But other than that, I hope that we get to a point where you can you can do some of this stuff here, where an individual is actually in a housing unit where they live and can interact with the courts and interact with even medical. Telemedicine is a big thing right now.
Yep.
And just reduce a lot of this transfer of people. That's where all the money is spent.
The technology, it's interesting you say all that, because I agree. And you've started using some, I know, with, the way people can communicate, the inmates with loved ones on iPads and things like that. But it's been around, and this kind of forced our hand. And right off the top of my head, jury selection. That's one thing I think they're probably going to do down the road, Sheriff, with regard to not having 100 people crammed into a little room and having to go through this voir dire all in person. I don't know. Maybe there's some legal issues as to why you can't. Yeah. But I just can't imagine jury selection's one way to streamline it electronically.
Yeah, I mean, just think out of the box a little bit. I just can't. There was some sort of court hearing the other day I saw that was actually on Zoom, and I forgot which one it was. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that the hearing I was at with Judge Jones was actually streamed live. I really believe, and maybe I'm on the tail end of all this stuff, but the truth is, it's going to change the way people think about work and environment, and how do we reduce the risk. I mean, think about this. The individual that's incarcerated that we're moving into courtrooms, look who all they come in contact with. It's not even, we move them, put them in a van, we drive them, go down to the courthouse, go in the courtroom, interact with the public, interact with the court staff. I mean, if nothing else, and by the way, Nick, we've always had the capability inside our jail facilities for video arraignments and video hearings. We've had trouble getting the courts to accept doing it. I mean, it's legal to do a lot of it. We couldn't get them to accept doing a lot of it because, for whatever reason, I believe that'll change. The motivation will be, wait a minute, we won't have to expose our staff and the public to some of these individuals that you're bringing to and from. And so maybe that helps us get the point across. Maybe there's more technology. Telemedicine is a verbiage everyone's been using for years, but we've had trouble getting everyone to buy into that. I could see, I mean, you wouldn't believe the money and time and energy we're spending managing this disease. And who knows if that tablet that we're handing out one day isn't how they communicate directly with nurses and doctors. So you don't have to move them around and do all the work that we're doing. And so there's going to be some good come out of it. Right now, I'm like everyone else. I'm a little clouded with the negative stuff we're dealing with, but I envision some things changing.
I have to say, there are a lot of things that I think we won't go back to, but I miss the interpersonal stuff, especially with you being on set with me here, because during the commercial breaks, I can badger you, and you probably don't miss that. But actually, we really do appreciate you joining us this way. If we can, we'd love to continue to do this as we do always every month, and sooner if something comes along. But it's interesting, as you said, then, if we've already got about 88 inmates under special circumstances because of COVID-19 in the new facility, but you expect it maybe to be up and open for business for everything, maybe a couple months?
No, we will be, I would say in the next couple of weeks, It'll be fully functioning the way what I was referencing on the months was, it'll be a couple of months before the BCC, the Behavioral Care Center part opens, just because we want to get booking and get everybody settled and then phase that in. But yeah, I think we're going to have, kind of a raising of the flag, so to speak, the first day that we open, for booking and our entire process. It's probably the first or the second weekend in May, sometime around there. So, but we, and again, we need to get to that point because that's where we're moving people back and forth, and we need to get that done and shut down our old facilities that are really not out of date for other reasons. So, we're anxious to do that, get into some state of normalcy, as you know, which is not really important, but our office, our administrative building, took a direct hit in the tornado, so we've had to move it completely up to Madison.
Yep.
So my office is up there, and the jails are in a little bit of disarray too. But we're doing fine. Our staff are doing fantastic. I know it's not what everybody really thinks about, but the men and women who work in what we do will never get the credit they deserve. It's incredibly difficult work, and and I do think society is stopping and saying thank you to kind of our frontline grocery stores. I mean, there's people like that. So I found myself needing to appreciate the simple things in life, and nurses and people working in the front line, truck drivers. It's quite frankly amazing. So thank you to every
Sheriff,
one of those folks.
Indeed. Listen, you be safe, my friend. We'll see you again next month. All right? You take care of yourself. Sheriff Daron Hall,
You too,
Davidson
Nick.
County
Thank you.
Sheriff Daron Hall. We'll take a break. Be back to wrap things up right after this.